welcome back to CEO.ca's Inside the Boardroom. Today, I'm excited to be joined by David Kol, President, CEO, and Director of Zodiac Gold. David, thanks so much for calling in today.
Hi, James. Thanks for having me.
So I understand you've just put out some news from the Alasala targets you've been exploring at the Todi Gold Project in Liberia. Can you walk us through what were some of the highlights there? What were some of the key results that you found?
Sure. James, we just completed 8 holes at our Alasala target, which is a 2-kilometer long trend that we've been focused on over the last few months. We've completed 8 holes with highlights of 4 meters of roughly 14 grams a ton, including 1.6 meters of 34.5 grams a ton, as well as 7 meters of 2.2 grams a ton, including 1 meter of 12.65 grams per ton. And we've had some other good intersections as well. And during that program, we also took some channel sampling at the Lion Field target, which came back at 6 meters of a little over 9 grams a ton, including 1 meter of 46 grams a ton and 1 meter of 7.6 grams a ton as well. So it's been a great program from our standpoint. It's been a bit challenging to say because the geology is a bit complex, but our team has done a phenomenal job to adapt to understand what's going on geologically speaking. We tend to see these cross-cutting structures going through the area, and we realize that those cross-cutting structures are, hosting the higher grade material that we hit in the last 2 holes, including the channel sample result as well.
Great, and I guess you last spoke with us back at the end of August, so pretty quick turnaround time in terms of completing that program and publishing the results. You mentioned the team had adapted to discovering these new geological insights and the campaign had maybe evolved from what it had originally planned to be based on that new information. Can you walk us through the overview of the campaign? You mentioned 8 drill holes and some channel sampling. Was that always the plan? Did you do more or less work as a result of this new insight into the geology?
So the strategy was always to drill 5 to 10 holes along this 2-kilometer structure. We had some historical drilling that we did in the past that came back with great results, which I mentioned on our last interview. So the plan was just to test Lion Hill, which we never drilled before in the past. So we're excited that we hit mineralization in the hole as well as the channel samples, and it was really good high grade material. So we believe that the exploration work done historically as well as the new exploration work that was recently completed gave us a stronger understanding of what's hosting the higher grade zones. In a few of the holes, we were expecting higher grade material, but the gold came back not as high, but we still hit mineralization in all of the holes. But we adapted to try and understand what was hosting the higher grade mineralization. So towards the end of the campaign, we realized that through our historical satellite interpretation study, which revealed all of these cross-cutting structures, it seemed as though the mineralized zone, or I would say the higher grade zone, was in these intersections of the cross-cutting structures. So we were able to hit those zones during the campaign, and as you can see from the results, we're very excited with the results. It's high grade material. We've got good widths as well. So we're going to take what we've learned from this program and we'll implement them in our next drill program so we can truly define that 2-kilometer structure. We know it's hosting mineralization at surface and at depth. Now, with the new information of we're able to now follow these cross-cutting structures throughout the entire 2-kilometer long trend, and we will put together our next phase of work. The guys are in the field right now mapping and following these zones, and we look forward to announcing kind of the next phase of our exploration plan here in the near future at Alasala.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that overview. I guess I want to talk about some of that historical work that has been done. Huge land package at the Todi Gold Project, over 2,000 square kilometers. You mentioned it's a 2-kilometer kind of shear zone that you're looking at along Alasala. How did some of that previous work inform the identification of the targets that you're going after right now? And how did some of that historical exploration help to de-risk the project?
Sure, thank you. So we've got, as you know, we've got a really large land package. So we have 2,300 square kilometers along this regional shear structure called the Todi Shear Zone. We have 5 drill-ready targets, which we've de-risked over the years. So historically, we identified the 2-kilometer long structure at Alasala, where we drilled roughly 1,000 meters historically, and 19 meters of 6 grams a ton, 9 meters of 4. So we really wanted to test the structure and also test the northern structure, which we call Lion's Hill, which we never drilled before in the past. We did have some really good rock chip samples historically, but never actually put a hole through that artisanal pit. So we were able to do that, during this program, and we were able to hit some good numbers. So we're going to take all of this information, digest it, and plan the next phase of work at Alasala. But from a de-risking standpoint, that entire target's all the soil geochem's been completed, all of the trenching has been completed. We now have over 2,300 meters of drilling completed. So we've now identified the target. We know the target's real. It's at surface. It's now at depth. We've got economic numbers. So now we're in the interpretation phase of the work completed to now focus on the next phase of drilling.
Great. And over the course of that work, how has your understanding of the geology at the project evolved? You mentioned you've identified these cross-cutting structures and some favorable host rocks that are hosting that mineralization. Mm-hmm. What are you seeing now, and how does it differ from maybe when you started out the exploration work?
Well, we know that the mineralization has been hosted in the shear zone itself, and it still is shear zone hosted. So we, looked at the satellite data and the satellite interpretation study that ACA Howe commissioned and actually reviewed again recently, and we realized that there are these cross-cutting structures going through the shear zone. So that's where we are seeing the higher grade material. So that's where our focus was towards the last 2 holes. Once we realized that the higher grade material is where these structures are actually meeting and intersecting. So that's our focus, and we've, thank goodness we've realized that, and we understand what's hosting it. So we were able to expand the zone to the north at Lion Hill, as well as Alasala, the Madingo Hill target to the south, where we hit that a little over 4 meters of almost 14 grams a ton. So if you look at the cross section that we put out in that press release, you can see it's a fantastic cross section, 19 meters of 6 grams, and then the other historical hole, 9 meters of 4.6 grams, and then if you look at the step back hole to that, 4 meters of 13.92 grams a ton. That's a beautiful cross section, and it's open at depth. So we're really excited to focus on that as well. So the great thing is we extended it to the north. We verified it again to the south. So now we're going to focus on the next phase of exploration to tie it all together, and over the next 6 months, put some ounces on the board as well.
Great. And in terms of the next steps of exploration at Alasala, so there's mapping still to come. Do you have another follow-up drill program planned, or give us a sense of what work is in the pipeline there?
Sure. So, due to the cross-cutting structures and some of the complexity of what we're seeing, we are bringing in a structural geologist. So we're working on that currently. Once that work is completed, we'll then focus on the next phase of drilling at Alasala.
Thanks a lot for that overview, David. I guess most of the focus today, we've been talking about Alasala. You obviously have these extra targets at Arthington, and I understand there's also some potential iron ore targets on the property as well that you've just had permitting adjustments for. walk us through maybe of those multiple different options. Do you have a sense of what the focus is going to be going forward?
Sure. As you know, James, we are a gold explorer. That is our focus, is to deliver a world-class deposit. That has been our focus from day one, and that has not changed. But what we did realize when we converted our reconnaissance license to these 2 new exploration licenses through our work that we were doing on the property, we identified some historical iron ore assets. So there's 11 million tons that were, found through, some desktop review and desktop studies. And then we pulled up some old USGS historical data, and we realized there's a big system going through the northern portion of the 2 new exploration licenses. And there's, 3 existing operating iron ore mines, Balchico, Western Cluster, and China Union, and then you have GV Iron to the west of us. So it's, from a logistical standpoint, the iron ore assets, they make a lot of sense. We're trying to figure out what we do with those assets. Do we keep them within Zodiac? Do we spin them out? Do we potentially do a JV with one of the neighbors? So the board will decide over the coming weeks on the strategy there. But we are looking to monetize those assets and try and hopefully have a non-dilutive financing with those assets as well, so we can focus on the gold drilling and further defining the various targets that we have within our land package.
Fantastic. And David, maybe just to wrap up, when retail investors or people watching the interview are looking at Zodiac, could you give us a sense of, in your view, what sets you apart from some of the other exploration stories out there, and why is now an interesting time to start paying attention to Zodiac Gold?
So, I think the main reason is, we've got good grade. We've got good mineralization. We have a large land package with potential multi-million ounce, potential. It's logistically, as we've said in the past, James, you couldn't find a better situated property an hour outside the capital city of Monrovia, 60 kilometers to the port. So logistically speaking, the hydro dam is 6 to 8 kilometers away. So, there's not a lot of properties out there, at our level of exploration where we could take a grassroots project to, define potentially, north of 3 to 5 million ounces within the land package. And we've got 5 drill-ready targets. 2 of them have been tested. 3 are in process. But remember, we also have roughly 15 other targets that have been identified through the satellite interpretation study, which we're going to send teams out to define some of those targets as well. So, from our standpoint, I think we believe we are undervalued, and, we believe through our systematic exploration approach and, our on-the-ground ability to adapt and define the targets, we will, prove the ounces over the next 6 to 12 months, where I believe the street will recognize the value, and I believe we'll find and see more retail investors coming on board supporting the story.
Fantastic. Well, David, congratulations on publishing the results from that campaign that's just wrapped up. Looking forward to more updates from Zodiac. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you, James.